We are here today with a special guest out of the studio and in a pretty cool shop.
Yeah, for real.
And so we've got an instructor here with us. So I thought it'd be good to do a little life lesson. And now that I'm thinking about it, I hope I haven't already told this dad joke. So I apologize if I have, but it just seems so apropos. So little life advice for all of us here. If you build a fire for a man or a woman for that matter, you'll keep him warm for a couple hours.
Yep.
If you set a man on fire, you'll keep him warm the rest of his life.
That's no, you haven't told that one. I would have remembered.
Okay, good.
All right. So, wait, Sunday night.
It's Sunday night.
Sunday night on the MCP. Yep. We're here for the first time outside of our studio in amazing frame building school, shop, setup, dormitory. It's awesome. Good. And we got a super interesting guest. Mm-hmm. You want to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, my name is Dave Bohm, and I am of Bohemian Bicycles / framebuildingschool.com. And I've been working here in Tucson, either building bicycles or teaching others how to build bicycles since 1993.
That is so awesome. I feel like we should have Freddie Mercury in the background singing Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that.
How'd you come up with the name? Where did that come from?
My last name is Bohm.
Okay.
And my background is Hungarian, which is
in
the past was part of that area. So I just,
of course.
Right on.
Initially I've thought about doing this. Initially I was going to try to start a brand.
Yeah.
And, Bohemian is a name that people remember.
Yeah, for sure.
All that kind of stuff. And people don't pronounce my last name correctly all the time, calling me Bohm or something. So I figured I would do that. And I was 23 years old when I started this thing.
Really?
Yeah,
23.
So how did
you learn? Like, what's your, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but how did you get started in this?
I know this is crazy, but, the short of it is, I'll start here. I bought a custom bike frame from a custom frame builder. Yeah. And it wasn't what I wanted. Right. In fact, the first one lasted 2 days before I broke that.
Oh.
And then the second one didn't. It lasted quite some time, but it never really was what I wanted. And the reality is I got it in my little 23-year-old head that if I could do this too, right?
Right.
And that's ridiculous. I look back on it.
Turns out you were right, by the way.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I had the opportunity to go to kind of a funky school where it was a working cattle ranch.
Okay.
Oh.
And we just got to do a lot of stupid welding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fixing fences and stuff like that. So I kind of had a background, at least in really light fabrication.
Okay.
And then I went to, and I said I was going to do this thing that there needed to be another frame builder in Tucson, Arizona.
Right. Did you grow up here in Tucson?
Not entirely, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I call myself a Tucsonan now. And so I got it in my head. I was going to be doing this thing. And then at the time there was a school called UBI, United Bicycle Institute.
Yep.
They have only recently stopped teaching people bike frame building, but they still teach all the other things, repair, suspension, all that. But anyways, I went there and I had a little bit of a leg up in my previous stuff.
From the light fabrication stuff
and everything. But I started from there and kind of just, I'll say this, I was self-taught for a little while.
Yeah.
And it maybe is this way, but after maybe 3 to 4 years and I'm putting out some okay stuff, the other frame builders started to be like, okay, you're here. You know what I mean? You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you've kind of put in some time. So now we're going to start telling you how a few things work.
So you got some help from some friends.
Yeah, I sure did. And, nowadays it's just the information out there is absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The internet, but it wasn't that way back then.
Yeah, there was not that. Yeah. So, even some of I do admit to getting jealous sometimes when someone it's a little thing. It's stupid. And someone will be like, how do I? And then someone else gives them the right answer. And I'm like, God damn it. That took me 5 years.
I had to earn that.
Yeah. It's not.
It's the cheat code, right?
Yeah. And then you're like, that took forever for me to either get it from someone else or figure it out. Yeah. And now you just, every once in a while, I just get an email and people are just like, oh, how do you? Uh-huh. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not answering you because you can't have it that easy.
So going back to the name Bohemian, I put it through Chat GPT, and it says it's often described as a person or lifestyle that values artistic expression, individuality, and nonconformity. And I got to tell you, it's pretty fitting here.
Yeah, it is totally pretty fitting.
What you got going on?
When we pulled up, we had no idea what to expect. I'm like, where is this? Like a house? Like, this
is
is
super
great.
stealth about it.
I did no idea that what was in here was in here.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I thought you were going to take us out to a garage or something in the back, and like the whole house is converted to a frame building school, like a shop. It's amazing.
With lodging.
Built in.
Yeah. I mean,
what a concept.
It was luck. You know, I mean, this house just came up for sale at the right time, close by, you know, near my actual living domicile, and you couldn't really ask for more, to be honest.
That's amazing. Okay, so you did the light fabrication at the working ranch. You went to UBI, right? Did I get that right? You started to get help from some other builders to help, you know, show you the ropes and give you some, tips and tricks. So you started, you know, Bohemian and just started selling custom frames, basically.
Yeah. So I'll say this, there was a 20-year run of that.
Yeah.
And I would be lying if I didn't say I had got a real job for 5 years in there.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's actually what helped me to actually secure my home and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, you know, and it was a low-level gig, and, you know, I don't have any problem saying it. It's a nice place. Intuit, it's here in Tucson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for 100 reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it facilitated what I needed it to do. And then I moved on and I moved back to this. Mm-hmm. And then the school was just, I mean, now it's my full-time thing, and you can see I've dedicated this whole building to it.
Yeah. Invested a lot into it.
But initially it was really just people just asking, like, well, I'd actually like to know how this is done. And I put it off for a long time. I was just like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. But I started to just do it very, very slowly.
Right.
Maybe just a couple of times a year and everything. And then ultimately the demand was there that I could do this now full time.
So what we're talking about, just to kind of bring our listeners up to speed, because we've been talking for quite some time, is that you offer an opportunity. I think you said it's 11-day program. Did I get that right?
For steel.
And
7 for carbon fiber.
7 for carbon. So it's a 11-day or 7-day
curriculum
or course where folks actually come. They can stay here at the facility
if they wish.
If they want to. They don't have to. And you work with them as they design and fabricate the frame that they want.
Yep.
Out of carbon fiber or steel.
Yeah. And it's a pretty broad. I mean, I can't do everything here. Of course, you know, no full suspension bicycles.
Yeah.
Just in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten a request for a quad cycle, a cargo bike with an electric motor, and some other type of bicycle to pull a longboard skateboard behind it.
Really?
Okay, man. No.
You guys are getting too specialized.
You got to make a bike, you know, like a double bicycle. Yeah. But we can make mountain bikes, you know, gravel bikes, touring bikes, track bikes, road bikes.
On your website, there's also a purple trike of some sort.
Yeah.
You know what? I was curious the story behind that.
Oh, that's a cool bike. Yeah. I mean, so I had a customer with muscular dystrophy.
Okay.
And she had a real issue transferring from her chair to the bicycle.
Uh-huh.
So
an adaptive cycle.
Yeah. That bicycle has a large platform like that. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And then also, I mean, it had a parking brake so that she could, because that was really most of the work there was to transfer over. Of course, she had poor balance. So she needed a tricycle or something like it, but she didn't want a recumbent because I guess by the time just, you know, they know themselves, they know what their own disabilities are. And she just felt that every single time she sat down that low, that she could never get up and out of this thing without serious assistance from someone. So she wanted a more upright style bicycle. So I designed that for her, just the one. But I love projects like that. I mean, honestly, they're terrible for business, but because there's so much design time and everything.
Yeah, and you're doing something totally new, one off. You're never going to do it again.
And you help somebody.
You know, I say this in all the classes. You know, people often say, "Well, why custom frame building anymore?" And I have to be like, I don't know. Here's the reality. The bicycles that come from the store are awesome. They weren't always like that.
Like retail bicycles. Nowadays, the bikes are really good.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, like if you're just objectively looking at them, I mean, they're amazing, right?
Right.
And I couldn't actually say that in the 80s. You know, a lot of them were like,
Yeah.
you know, like I can do better than that. But that's not easily said anymore. So where do I fall, or someone like me fall into there? Well, really, it just for the very tall or the very small.
Okay.
You know,
So you can make unusual sizes, right?
Yeah. They're just not. I recently had a guy who was 6'10". You know, that's a guy who can't be helped at the bicycle store. And then the other side of that coin are people with physical injury or disability that make it so that they can't easily adapt to those bikes at the store either. Now, that doesn't make up like a big portion of our customers, but when it does happen, it's really pretty awesome.
Feels good.
Because it feels good. You can actually fix something.
Yeah.
And, you know, guys like me, I mean, we're engineering types, and you're really looking to fix something.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to put it down, but if you're just like 5'6" and you need a bicycle, like a road bike or something,
All day long, there's 20 places in Tucson.
yeah, and I can make one fast, and it doesn't. There's no brain power to make that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to.
So Dave, it says on your website that people come from Australia, New Zealand, Europe, all over. Why are people coming like from around the world to hang out with you here for 11 days, 7 days here?
Well, I would be lying if I said that some of it wasn't the weather in winter.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tucson's beautiful.
Tucson is a great place.
For sure.
Yeah,
but there's more than that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, maybe I've built up a reputation at being pretty good at this over the years. Yep. And, you know, they want to come here and do this thing. And that's always really nice.
Are you aware of anything else like this? I'm not.
So I'll say this. There are. You know, like when I first started teaching, there were only 4 different locations on the planet where you could go and have someone teach.
When you started this.
Yeah. So there was always the UBI place know, that I already spoke of. And there was a couple guys like me, and there was a guy in England. Yeah.
Okay.
But this blew up, believe it or not. At one point, not too long ago, maybe just slightly pre-pandemic, there were maybe 50 different locations in the world.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's not well known, but I mean, there's a place in France, there's a place in Spain, and there's lots of places in the United States. And there's a lot of frame builders who have a drop down on their website, you know, that says, well, drop me a note, you know, maybe I can help you learn this thing. I do differentiate myself from many of them. Not that they're not good instructors. It's just that this is my full-time gig.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just
dedicated
a drop down thing, but now we're seeing kind of a reboot because we lost UBI.
Yep.
And there was also a large outfit in England called the Bicycle Academy that went out of business, and probably facilitated by the pandemic.
Yeah.
And and some of the others have retired or gone away. And so it's the natural ebb and flow of the bicycle thing, which I never seem to be able to get my head around.
The ebb and flow of the bicycle scene.
Yeah, I mean, just when you think like
we all know it,
it's going to be awesome, it's not, but then nothing's happening, it's awesome. I mean, I can't.
Did you think like when COVID hit, did you think the bicycle industry was going to blow up and like everyone was going to, did you predict that?
No. I mean, that was a surprise to me that like everybody, I mean, you couldn't get a bike at the store and all that.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, anytime you build something yourself or work or pay for something, it means something. It's special, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine that people come here to this cool, eclectic shop starting on day one, you know, the Monday, like you said, you design your own, very own bike. And then by the end, you're packing in your suitcase, flying back to, you know, over the pond with a frame in your suitcase and fork. And that you're going to eventually ride, and you built it with your own hands. I mean, it's got to be a cool feeling every time you get on that bike.
Yeah, I mean, for the guy who's or gal who's like the bikey.
Yep.
And you're into making your own things. You like to make your own bread or do this and that. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more ultimate than that.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, they're not into making their own stuff, and they want to ride bikes.
Yeah.
But I mean, and every single time you get on it, it's just, I think even now it's like, wow, you just have that moment of like, I made this. This is sweet.
Do you have any repeat customers that come back and they want to keep learning from you?
Sometimes upwards of 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And oddly enough, it could be just this. So, you know, I have extended classes. I have classes. If you've already been here, we can then learn other things. There's more to learn than just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I often people go, can you make me like a professional frame builder in 2 weeks? And you're like, yeah,
no, we can make you a frame in 2 weeks.
yeah. I mean, really, it's, truthfully, I mean, it's not the most complicated thing in the world, and it can be done if you just slowly walk through the process, but it is not something. Oh no, David, come on in. So this is David, one of the students.
What's up, David?
Yeah.
How you doing?
How you doing, brother?
We're having a podcast. He's got to have dinner.
Sorry, man.
So yeah, I mean, that's not a thing, but, I always say this, the reality is that the practice is just beginning. I've just given you the tools you need to now go back. If you wish to take this farther, to begin your own practice at home. The question I get a lot is, how long do you have to practice before you're like a good frame builder? And the reality is, you've heard this 10,000 hour thing.
To be a master.
Yeah. I'll say, this is the thing. No, like really after you've made 6 bikes, 10 bikes, and you've walked through them all, you're actually getting pretty okay at making bikes. I mean, that kind of thing. It's not as long as people say, but in order to get that level of craft with some people are like, geez, Dave, you can really weld well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah. Pretty. And all the other, that's 10,000 hours. Yeah. So, it never stops the learning. Part.
Have you ever calculated how many hours you got making bikes?
No, but sometimes I keep track of how long it takes me to make individual bikes.
Yeah. How long does it take you to make a bike?
Wise, and that's a great question. I mean, some of the fastest frame builders can do it in 4
hours.
4 hours. Yeah. They've got everything down like crazy fast. And actually, guys,
I would imagine they've got a lot of things pre-cut and ready to go. Is that kind of like you're doing Lego set kind of stuff, but more than?
Yes.
Okay.
But, and also, they might have some of the designs already locked, parts of the designs locked down.
Yeah.
Like the rear end of the bike, it's always the same.
Okay.
They might make you a longer or taller front end, but the back end's going to remain the same. So they do these kind of things to expedite things, and they're really quick. So if you sell a $1,600 frame, but it took you 4 hours to make it, this could actually be somewhat lucrative.
How I mean, what are you putting in? I mean, 4 hours, but you're buying raw materials there too, right?
Yeah, man, it's $400 or $500.
$400 or $500, and you got to amortize all your tools and shit over that.
It's not true. Yeah. And it's not all that. And the other thing I always say is, don't put the cart for the horse. You got to have the sales.
Yeah, people actually have to want to buy a frame.
Buy your stuff. Like people go, I can make 100 a year. Good for you. Like
they're going to be hanging from the rooftop.
But I've actually spent upwards of maybe 500 hours on some of the fanciest ones I've ever made.
Oh my gosh!
And probably the average is more like 40 to 45.
Okay, so a solid week's worth to make
it's
it.
A real week, and it's more than that for me because it's really actually hard to get 40 or 50 hours of alone time.
Yes.
I know, right? Yeah, I can see it in your eyes. And so really, if I'm lucky to get 30 hours of left alone build time and not dealing with email or just getting distracted or something. So I would say it's more like 2 weeks.
Right on.
Yep. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in pursuing a career in like building bike frames?
So, yeah, I mean,
come to
and listen to 2 weeks of me blabbing. All that advice is free, man. I don't even charge for it. The reality is, I think any business is hard. So that's the first thing. Okay. Like people say this business is hard, that business is hard. Business is hard.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so bicycle business has its quirks and features, and it's tough at times, and it does what it wants to do, even if you're not part of it.
Right.
Yeah. But
I
do have a lot of people who want to do this, but they have usually kind of a mixed thing. Maybe they've had a career already, i.e. at Raytheon, right?
Yep.
And now they find themselves 45 years old, having put in 25 years at Raytheon.
Yeah.
And they're still ready to do some stuff.
Yep. Yeah. It's almost like you know me, brother.
Yeah. But, and they don't need to work. They don't want to work. They don't want to kill themselves.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
Yeah.
But they want to do something that they find enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so that's a real mixed thing I get. Sometimes people have a spouse who's doing well, but they would like to just supplement the income, or they have kids at home and they want to have enough time to watch them grow up.
Kind of a side gig.
So most of the time it's something like that. As far as just saying, I'm going to make bikes and that's it, and I'm I'm going to kill it. The advice I always give away in the class is, you know, the model used to be a lone craftsman like me, like making a bike frame. I really don't think that's viable anymore. You know, it's just too much. There's the marketing side and all that other stuff. I think you really have to be part of a team.
Okay.
And I think that team could be a small team of 3 to 4 people.
Oh, okay.
But this idea that I just hear from you, you know, and then
go to Handmade Bicycle show and you can bring your bikes and sell them.
I don't think that's real anymore. It's just not really viable. Some of the old timers, maybe I'm part of them now, but we started in a different time.
Yep.
Where that was the thing. And, you know, but I just don't think it's the thing now. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that anyone try to go off on their own unless they have like some sort of mixed.
Yeah. To supplement.
Supplemental income of some kind.
Yeah.
And or, you know, the retirement business or any number of things. Yeah.
Okay. No, it sounds like good advice. Yeah, I think even on there you said make sure you don't quit your day job or something like that before you go off.
Well, and here's the other thing. You know, making bikes and riding bikes and all that, it's supposed to be fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you're kind of nervous and this isn't completely natural. And I say have fun with it for quite some time, right? These people want to start like a business and, you know, and it's a 4-letter word. It's work.
Yeah.
And they want to, if you want to really hose it fast, I think I told you a little side story before our discussion about my first apprentice that got kind of hammered by customers in his first year.
Yep.
Yeah. That's called the job.
The job.
Yeah. And I say, don't do it right away. Like give yourself
Have
the time to learn, to have fun. If after a couple of years, you've made all your buddies' bikes and all that other stuff, and you're still digging it, then think about
selling them,
business models and all that other stuff. But
I got to tell you, just walking the shop as you walked us through it and told us about the different machines and that, it seems like you're still having fun.
Yeah,
would you agree?
Yeah, I really like teaching.
Yeah,
and actually, I get to make like that weird stuff now. You know, like that trials bike and stuff.
Yeah, we walked into a 26-inch trials mountain bike.
Yeah. I've never seen something like that before.
Like, you ride that?
It looks so cool.
And he's like, I try to ride that.
Yeah, exactly. I try to ride that.
This is so okay. This is so weird. So our last podcast, so we have about 4-week delay. So we'll post this one, or it'll go live in about 4 weeks. But last week we recorded, or on Tuesday we recorded. Do you remember Vantana Bikes?
Oh yeah.
So we recorded with Sherwood Gibson.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So and Sherwood actually works for Raytheon now.
Oh, of course, he's smart too.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So we had him on, but he was saying that he now does trials moto.
Yeah.
That's his thing.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah.
So we come in here to the second like, you know, manufacturer guy in like 2 weeks, and there's a trials bike.
It must be a thing.
There's like something with you
bike
guys,
manufacturing,
with you
bike makers.
Like,
yeah,
we're on the same.
You guys all do trials.
We don't need bike seats
we
anymore.
Just think the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
I was just saying that to these guys the other day. I used to work in restaurants a lot, you know, like to kind of hoist this thing up and make some bartending and stuff. So, but you know, of course you expect like Friday, Saturday to always be busy, but it could just be a Tuesday and like everybody's there, right? And they're out the door. I seriously think people are like talking to each other subliminally or something.
Oh yeah, it could be
ether or whatever.
Yeah, sending the messages out.
Yeah. And I think sometimes just the stuff is right. And we frame builders tend to come up with like common solutions or end up making some of the same stuff at the same time.
Yeah.
And we may not even know why, but we're just getting cues from.
Sherwood mentioned something like that as well on the podcast, that happened, you know, the solution both at the same time. I think you're onto something there. Yeah, could be. So you may have already talked about this with like the trike, the purple trike and that, but can you talk about some of the most memorable projects or collaborations that you've worked on and what made them kind of stand out?
Yeah. I mean, the big ones, I haven't, you know, the real thing is I haven't probably done that many of those, you know, special things like that, maybe like 5 in my life, because the bread and butter is what keeps this place moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
how about memorable students?
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of those. But, here's the thing. I mean, probably, you know, so one of my first collaborations with a guy his name was Chalo, and he was 7 foot tall Hispanic guy who was 330 pounds.
Oh, that's a big boy.
But he also worked for Boeing. Yeah. And he was a machinist there.
Nice.
So, you know, when you're that big of a guy, I'm dating myself here. You're about 25 years ago and you want to make a mountain bike. he wants disc brakes, but there's no disc brakes. He wants, crank sets that work for a guy that big, but all those crank sets there will blow to bits, right?
Yeah.
So we worked together and ended up making like a huge mountain bike, and it had a triple tree, like a motorcycle.
Yes.
And it had a massive front brake. I don't know. It was huge. It was bigger than 203.
Wow.
And then it had four bearing bottom bracket, and he had stolen these bearings from some Boeing project. That, they could handle some incredible amount of load or something. Probably cost $500 a piece or something, So anyways, it was a great project. And he may for many years have been my most popular guy, only because he lived in Seattle at the time and then ultimately moved to Austin, I believe.
Right.
But nobody forgets a 7 foot tall.
So they're like, who the
Andre
hell,
the Giant
what are you
type
riding?
guy.
Andre the
Riding
Giant.
around,
Yeah.
And they would know me just from that bike. Like,
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the guy would, and he was also so personable. He'd show up to all the events and everything. And, and I knew, they're like, I know you. I know what your name. They did. And it was all because of this huge bike rider who's nice. And that bike was something else. Yeah. And like I said, with the giant moto fork on the front of it. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
So one of the questions, I think your website, can we just refer, like, what is your website so people make sure they can find it?
There's 2 websites. There's bohemianbicycles.com.
Okay. Yep.
And there's framebuildingschool.com.
Okay. bohemianbicycles.com and
framebuildingschool.com.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll put those in the show notes.
Yep. So on there's a question of lugs or no lugs. And we were talking about this back in the shop there, but I'm holding in my hand kind of an artistic, beautiful looking lug. And it reminds me of a couple of things. First, your symbol on, I think it's bohemianbicycles.com. You got a
triangle.
Yeah, really neat. So can you talk to us in that, looking at the 5th bike you made, hanging on the wall there, beautiful piece of art. And those have lugs.
Yeah.
Am I correct? So can you talk to us about that question, lugs or no lugs?
Yeah. I mean, so basically it all comes down to either being lugged or lugless.
Okay.
Lugged would be, a lot of people do know what that is. It's your granddad's bike or your father's bike. It was the cool one with the chrome on it and everything. And then lugless designs could either be, it's really just a joining method. It either usually falls into being fillet brazed, which is another style of brazing, and or being TIG welded.
Okay.
Yeah, which is also awesome. I just don't offer that as a primary build method here. And I'll get to that later. But the reality is lugs are great. I mean, they're not only are they decorative, but they actually turn out to reinforce the joint, i.e. with more metal.
Yep.
Right. And they use a process here in the States that we often use silver brazing for those. And silver is the lowest melting temperature of the typical bonding materials. So it melts at about 1200 degrees. And the reason that's useful is because it kind of keeps more of the inherent properties of the steel. When the steel comes out of the box, it's about as good as it's going to get. Yeah. We usually make it worse. Yeah. So, silver really maintains those properties well. So anyways, but probably the biggest downer on lugs is that they are a fixed angle. They were made for us, and there's many less of them today than there used to be.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, and the reality is, if, like I said in the back room, if you're a traditionalist, and you like, older style road bikes, maybe a randonnée bike or sometimes a touring bike, we could maybe do lugs.
Okay.
Yeah? But they are so limiting at this point.
Because of the geometry it forces?
Geometries and that's true as well. I mean, now we have disc brakes and all this
everything that goes with it.
It's just stressing these bicycles differently than it used to be.
But a hipster going back, throwback retro.
Oh yeah. Of course,
he or she might look for the lugs.
I mean, or you can look at the Athertons, right? Have you seen what the Athertons are doing? So they're both pro. G and Rachel Atherton, and I think there's maybe another one. They're pro downhill mountain bikers, but they started their own company, and it's Atherton Bikes, and they're using lugs digitally printed with carbon tubes. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they're full suspension downhill bikes, like big hit bikes. Yeah. So
that's an awesome tech. Yeah. And that's kind of a reboot. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's awesome.
It's total
the
reboot.
Only unawesome thing is it's really expensive. Okay. The printing of the lugs is expensive.
Yeah.
And then and so it and that's okay. I like expensive bikes, but it just puts it in a place that's not for everyone.
Yeah,
So, a lug like this, guys, like this thing here, usually we call it a lug set. It comes as 3. It's the 2 head lugs and the seat lug. Yeah. And, we'll commonly pay $35 to $60 for this.
Okay.
They cost about $12. Yeah. So the current going rate for 3D printing lugs is about $1,500 to $2,500.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that jumps the price up real quick.
A little bit different than 12. Yeah. So the investment casting concept is very efficient. They make hundreds and hundreds of these things at the same time, whereas 3D printing is a little less efficient in that way, and it takes a long time to do it. And the pricing hasn't it's come down a bit, and then of course something has to be designed for 3D printing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's some limitations in 3D printing.
Yeah.
That nothing can't get around. There's just some.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, like there's at least I think 3 3D printers within my eyesight right now. So it's not like you're a hater of digital printing.
In fact, I say this: I am convinced, and I say it to everyone, and that a 3D printer is an absolute necessary tool for even a hobby level frame builder nowadays. I can't tell you. I could show you here. I can't tell you how many little jigs and fixtures
to help you actually in the manufacturing.
And something I might only use once or twice.
You can print it.
I need
print
to
it overnight.
Somewhere. Just print it. I wake up, my new toy's ready to rock.
Yeah.
And I use this thing. And the price of these printers, of course, they're still expensive, nice ones, but they're $220.
Yeah, that's great.
And a number of my students have literally just sent me text afterwards and going, I got one. It's so cool. You know what I mean? And they're making stuff, and it's just like, they just never really considered it, but it is and the price is such now that the biggest hurdle for almost every student is not printing something. It's designing the print. Mm-hmm. And they may not have familiarity yet with 3D software and all that. But then again, you can get it for free on Google SketchUp and things, but you never stop learning with this thing. So, they may not learn 3D CAD software tomorrow, but they learn it.
Yeah. So speaking of design and that, can you, without giving all the, the cool stuff that a person going through your class would learn, but can you kind of walk us through what they can expect day one?
The typical week?
Yeah.
And maybe 2 different stories, one for steel and one for carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they start out very similarly. Of course, we have to know what we're going to make before we make it.
Do the students come with, sorry, I cut you off, but do they come with an idea? It's hey, this is what I kind of want in my head. And then,
some have worked very hard on this and have a very detailed breakdown of what they want, and I would say it's actually more common that they have absolutely no idea. In fact, I usually contact them about a month before and say, there's some freeware versions of these software that I use, and you could just start clicking the buttons, and you really should start thinking about what it is that you might want to have. Yeah. Cause it helps to streamline what we're doing in the class. Yeah. So day one is, all theory, all of it. And also people have often traveled long distances, they've got jet lag, and I'm just kind of trying to slowly
ease into the process.
Into this thing, not day 1, 8 a.m.
Put on the welding helmet.
Yeah. So anyways, but we spend the whole day, and everything from, steering geometry and weight distribution and tube design and butting and all that kind of stuff. I will say though that, fitting or bike fitting has become a completely separate genre from frame building. In the old days, the frame builder did everything. We figured out what size we would make. We made the frame. We painted the frame.
So do you have them get fit before they come?
If they want to.
Yeah.
Very often the truth is that by the time someone's made the journey through their bike life and gets to this place, they've had bikes.
Yeah.
And they kind of know what they want. They have a fit that works for them.
Yep.
And all we're doing really here is just kind of tweaking that kind of fit, for instance, they have a nice road bike they like, but commonly lately gravel bikes, big
deal now. Yeah.
So we're going to make a gravel bike, but I can start with the original road bike design and kind of morph that.
Will they bring an old bike in?
Yeah. I love when they bring bikes. That's always nice to be able to measure what they have. I usually ask them to measure some of what they have already and bring some of those numbers with them.
Right.
Saddle height, length of frame, some simple numbers like that.
Yeah.
And then, there's the old tricks, just measuring inseam length and arm length and stuff, but this is not a fit studio. I don't have the laser beams and motion capture and all that kind of shit. And the reality is, for most riders, that stuff is a godsend when you're a top level rider who's looking for every advantage. Yeah. But for many people, you know, this helped me reboot my own bike riding. Like, I was a bike racer and all that other kind of stuff. And even today I'm overweight, but there's still a part of me that's like, go, 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 go. Yeah. But that's not for everyone. People cycle for 100 different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point.
Not all of them are about performance in that way. Yeah. And so, you know, talking to some guys who like sometimes ride a lot, you know, like distance wise, but miles. They might ride slowly, you know, in low heart rate and all that. And they don't ride in packs and groups, and they're not about Strava or anything. Yeah. You know, well, maybe they just want to see the sights. And so, you know, aerodynamics aren't going to mean that much, right? So we're going to bring up the handlebars a little bit.
Also, if it's comfortable.
Yeah. And, you know, work on comfort and stuff like that. So like I said, part of being a frame builder is interviewing your client.
Nice.
My client is my student, and making sure that you're making the right thing for them, not what you want. I mean, I know what I want, but like,
it's very personalized.
Yeah, that part is right. So, and part of it is just, you know, you do this a whole bunch and it becomes a little easier. I mean, I'll say like, over the years, I know this guy who's that tall has a seat height that will be between, you know, 80 centimeters and 84, let's say, right? And so I know it can't be anything else. I'm just working in that range.
Parameter, yeah.
And I've actually caught out some frame fitters when I was just like, okay, well, normally a guy who's 6'4" would have a saddle height in this range, and you're saying that it's 8 centimeters lower than that. Can you tell me why that is? And ultimately they come back and go, oops. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, oops. Like, it's never that. Yeah. Unless, by the way, well, I shouldn't say it's never. I mean, morphology of people generally follows like a bell curve.
Okay. Yeah.
And most people
on the extremes, right? Yeah.
The extremes are pretty extreme sometimes.
Yeah.
But then again, you probably would have mentioned that to me.
Right.
You know, that this
by the way,
I'm built weird.
Yeah. This person is, you know, i.e. the email would start, this person is built very strangely. Yeah. Right. You know,
So the first day is the designing of it. Like, you're kind of slowly into it, and also teaching the theory behind it.
Yeah. They have to be able to, in their own workshops, choose the appropriate tubing.
Okay.
And all the other little bits that go with this thing. So they need to have at least enough math and engineering to make a good, solid choice on some of this, a safe choice.
Okay.
Above all else, I mean, you know, I get a little pedantic about this, but bicycles can be very dangerous. I mean, you are going 30, 40, 50 miles an hour. And if the thing decides to turn into pieces,
it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good, man. You're going to get really banged up or dead. So unlike making other things that you would buy on Etsy sometimes, those kind of things can't kill you like these things can. So I am very like, especially with the students in the classes, and their work may not be, you know, optimal yet.
Because they're students.
So if it's in doubt, like it's this thing or that thing, and this thing's like a little bit more durable, guess which? You get the durable thing.
Yeah, safety first.
Safety first. And when they're in their own shops, they can do
whatever they want,
man. But like here, it's, you know, we're going to build.
You got to send them out the door with something that's gonna. You got to send them out the door with something that's going to hold up, right? That's not going to
first and foremost. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we have the steel route and then the carbon route.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thank you for bringing me back to that. So the carbon thing,
we go down a lot of rabbit holes, so that's
all right.
Yeah, so the carbon class is 7 days and the steel's 11. And the only reason for that is I don't have to teach anyone how to weld.
Oh, that's the difference.
Yeah, that's literally the difference. Welding is it takes 3 days for me to teach someone how to safely join tubes together.
Yeah.
Maybe not the prettiest, but safely.
Yeah.
And if I give you that glue gun, you're going to be the best gluer that you can be.
Like literally?
In about 15 minutes.
For carbon.
So carbon is put together, usually, and this is still the case even in like huge factories like Giant and such. Bicycles are not one piece. That's a misnomer, or even 2. They're often more like 5 to 6.
Okay.
And so these sub-assemblies are created, molded, and then they're brought together and glued in various ways. They could be overlapping joints, i.e. lugs. That's still extremely common. They're just internal lugs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And or sometimes overwrapped. That is, pre-preg carbon fiber is wrapped around a joint in some way. So yeah, those are still very common. So in the class, we use a technique we call tube to tube construction, which takes at least 3 subassemblies and then individual tubes. You saw some of those,
Yeah.
you know, and those are cut to length. And what that allows us to do is make custom sizes, which is often something that a custom carbon factory cannot do because they're locked into these various
production.
molds and stuff. So that's great. But initially, so on a steel frame, we would tack the frame, i.e. we would weld it in small places 4 to 6 times so that it was secure enough that we could take it out of our fixture and then weld it fully.
And that was that frame holder that you showed us.
Yeah, we call it frame jig or frame
jig,
fixture. Yep. And then the carbon bike, the tacking part is the glue thing I just referred to.
Oh, okay.
You know, where you use a pretty snazzy little glue gun that mixes it as all goes through and everything. And then you just,
that's it.
Later, the pre-preg carbon has to be wrapped around those joints in order to give them strength.
And then it gets heated.
Yes. And vacuumed and pressurized and all that things. But that's actually where most of the magic happens. But the reality is that since I don't have to teach any welding, we just jump right into the actual construction. And then, by the way, so a lot of people think I'm a welder and I'm not. You know, like I might have learned to do some of this pretty well, but I'm not a welder. I'm not a certified welder. And as far as making bikes, welding is the least of what I do, i.e. I can braze an entire bike frame in about 40 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes, taking my time. And somehow I usually spend about 40 hours making these things. So the other 39 hours.
I never would have guessed that. I would have thought the exact opposite.
Yeah. I mean, time wise, it's the least of what I do. Oh. So I'm pretty fast. And I just, if someone would just do a bunch of prep work for me, then I could just tear on these things, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But carbon fiber is the opposite, actually. Hundreds and hundreds of small pieces go on to wrap these joints. And each individual piece doesn't take that long to apply, but the total seems to take most students about 2 days.
To apply the hundreds of pieces.
Yeah, to probably closer to 200 pieces.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, the reality is if somebody would just hand me a bunch of tubes that were already cut to size, and I put them in the jig for me, and I could probably get this job done in 40 minutes or so. But with the carbon fiber, I cannot. It is really slow. And industrially, where steel bikes can be made in large quantity with only about 2 man-hours worth of work, carbon still represents about 22 hours of hand labor, even at the giant factory. And this is why we pay more money for those.
Oh, interesting.
Because they're harder to make still. Yeah. Now, someday, maybe the technology will be there where it'll just be like some sort of crazy Star Wars assembly line. Yeah. It'll be like chonk, a chonk, a chonk. But so far,
not so much.
Yeah. So that's how that breaks down with the 2 classes.
Yeah. I think people, in my mind, think carbon would be extremely hard to make your own carbon frame. But it almost sounds, I don't want to oversimplify this, almost simpler in 7 days to have a nice carbon frame in your suitcase going back home.
Yeah, you don't need welders or anything.
Yeah.
And actually that's where so carbon fibers have existed since 1952. And pre-preg carbon fiber, that is where we would pre-impregnate the carbon fiber with a resin. That was in the early 60s. But the earliest stuff actually would go from when they made it, you would have 2 days to actually use that. You know, so it had to be applied to something
pretty quickly,
like right now.
And now they're keeping it really super cold to help.
Well, now they have shelf stable at room temperature pre-pregs for a year.
Whoa!
Yeah. Oh. So at 72 degrees, they can maintain for a full year on the shelf with no refrigeration. So, not that those are really common, but it's the technology of processing.
Yeah,
that's really allowed carbon fiber to be made in
more
less
accessible
than aerospace, NASA level stuff. And that's why the pricing has been able to come down. You know, before it required a level of processing that was really pretty intense, and was really kind of the world of Raytheons and things. But realistically nowadays, because of breakthroughs in chemistry and other things like that, it's really become much more accessible. And now you can go online and literally go online and get pre-preg, and they'll ship it to your house. Oh, wow. Like a couple of yards of it or something, a yard if you're willing to pay for it. And this is a huge change. When I first started like this journey when I was in high school, I learned to make kayaks. I was a river kayaker. Yeah. Nice. And we made like fiberglass kayaks, Kevlar kayaks and things. And, it was like making a surfboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had some experience in this, but when, I went down that route, I was like, I'll go get some pre-preg or something. Oh no, not so easy, man. And like, realistically,
that was years ago then.
Yeah. About 10 years ago, these companies, at the time, they were like, oh, okay, so that's wonderful. We absolutely want to sell you pre-preg. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars would you like?
Yeah. You're like, no, you don't understand.
No. Yeah, well, even I thought I was a baller, and I'd be like, oh, I got like 10 grand. And they're like, yeah, no. Yeah. No. Like even stuff they make it, I know is in storage, right? Like they got it. Yeah. They're just literally like, we're not going to write an invoice for that.
It's not worth their time for that minimum quantity, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like I actually had a friend in an aerospace company, and they went to Mitsubishi Rayon, which is who makes a lot of the carbon.
Yeah. And
they wanted an off-the-shelf product. And by the way, I will say it's some of the very best material I've ever used, but they were going to spend $300,000 and they had to twist their arm to do it.
That was a
like
fair,
even
like
$300,000 was like,
it wasn't worth it. Yeah.
I don't know, man. And this is supposed to be tongue in cheek and everything, but the military industrial complex of the United States buys so much product and they pay so much money for it that they've distorted like anything normal, right? They're just like, these people are like, well, Raytheon spent $40 million last week. Like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I got $1,000,
Yeah.
And they just don't even want to cope with you because there's bigger fish, right?
Yeah.
And so the good news is that's actually changed, and we have online sources. A lot of these sources are actually just buying surplus from these very same companies and selling it, but that means you can get it now.
Good.
Like anyone. And for like $60, you can have carbon pre-preg that like is space stuff.
Wow.
That's cool.
It's great. And you can make really awesome things. And you're right. A lot of people are just don't realize yet that you can do that.
Yeah.
In a pretty, this is a cool place, but it's not.
No, but the finished product, I mean, you showed us one, I think is one of the coolest things is on the tester where you had that cylinder that goes back, however many hundreds of thousands of times to test your carbon. And it was, didn't fail. And the product itself, the seams, everything looks really pretty, like, from a factory almost.
Yeah. Well, hopefully,
to be honest,
try to do a good job.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. Okay. So that's the carbon then. Is there anything we missed on that build?
No.
Okay. Go back to the steel. So you said that it takes some time to teach the welding part.
Yeah. So I want to be clear on that. So, generally what I'm teaching here is what we call brazing. Brazing.
Okay, clarify.
Sometimes
brazing.
Yeah. Well, brazing is literally soldering. Most people know what that is, but brazing is technically above 840 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
That's it. That's the only delineator. So if you're brazing if you're soldering above 840 degrees, we call that brazing. And the only reason we want to do that is because those molecular bonds that are formed at elevated temperatures like that are much stronger than those that are formed when you guys fix your plumbing at home with the little solder stuff you get at Home Depot or something, just a much stronger joint. So we tend to use a lot, the silvers we use are a lot. They're 56% silver, not 5. And so
quality.
Yeah, that exactly. So anyways, I teach those techniques both in lugs and lugless. And then there's also the TIG welding technique. But, and this is my opinion, but the TIG welding is quite difficult, especially for people who have no welding experience at all. And that is pretty common around here. So they have no experience, and TIG welding requires a very deft touch. I don't know if you guys ever done any of it.
I've heard enough to not touch it.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, essentially you're holding onto a small mechanical pencil, that has to maintain the tip of that pencil no more than 2 millimeters away from the metal at all times. And then somehow you're also feeding in a very small rod next to it, dab, dab, dab. Yep. And then you've got a foot pedal that's controlling how much heat essentially is going to that thing.
Right.
And you've got to balance 2 hands and a foot
at all times. While
a lot of people
through weird angles and
they're not that coordinated yet. Right. So, the reality is that most of the TIG welding classes spend a very long time trying to become proficient at TIG welding and then just haul ass at the end and try to make a frame in like 4 days. And that's not what I'm doing here. What I'm trying to do is teach the overall methodology. The joining, someday, guys, it's going to be glue. I tell everyone that, bonding is how most of our cars are put together and everything.
Even with metals.
Yeah, I mean, well, you spoke of those lugs with the carbon tubes; those are bonded
for sure.
And the reality is, it's already really good, and who knows what they can do in the future. And then once we have technologies like that, welding is just going to be. And even within the welding trades, laser. My buddy's buying a laser one right now. I'm excited about trying it out.
Laser welder,
a handheld laser welder. Yeah,
like electron beam welding, or is it?
No, it's actually a laser beam.
Okay,
and electron beam is a thing.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah,
but no, this is it looks like a ray gun from like the 1960s.
Yeah. Okay.
And literally, you point it about 3 inches away from the metal, and it literally goes pop, 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 and you just pull it along like that.
Wow!
And it's actually got a rod feeder.
Yeah, self-feeding.
Yeah. And it's unbelievably good. Like you're just like, wow.
How expensive? Like, is it?
I mean, they're like 20 grand,
okay,
30 grand. So they're not quite
compared to a TIG welder. Like, what's is it $2,000 for a TIG welder? Or?
Well, so this has changed a lot. A TIG welder used to be $3,000, essentially 4,000. And then of course there was a lot of accessories. This is a great little learning lesson here, but lots of accessories. You needed a helmet.
Yeah.
You needed, of course, a lot of stuff that came with the welder. You were like, I don't like this stuff. So I'll get a new foot pedal. Yeah. So anyways, but now you can go to Harbor Freight.
Yep.
And you can buy a welder for like $890.
Wow.
And it does like everything. Now it may not do it quite as well as like the Miller Blue Box, but
it can get it
$890.
Yeah, right.
So this may be becoming far more accessible. And then you say, well, the laser thing's $30,000.
Yeah.
Still a pretty huge gap.
So just, I'm going to take you back. I want to make sure I don't miss this. So the non-lugged braze strength versus a TIG welded strength.
Great question, actually. So, I could actually show you on the whiteboard, but so the short of it is that all the techniques we use for typically putting together bikes, lugs, and the fillet and the TIG, we all know them to be strong enough to hold together a bike.
Yep.
What we're really talking about on bikes is fatigue life. How long does our bike last?
Yep.
Because I guarantee you could literally take enough Play-Doh and put it around a joint and probably ride for half a day or something before the thing would just blow to pieces, right? So we're really talking about fatigue life here. And ultimately, it actually turns out that the fillet braze joint has a slightly greater fatigue life than TIG.
Wow.
Yeah. But I want to put that in perspective. We know that TIG bikes last for a really long time in some cases, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, 20, 30 years, maybe even longer. And then we're saying, oh, well, this one lasts 10% longer than that.
Yeah, that's another 6 months or a year or something.
It's hard to even
not a big deal
quantify that. Yeah. And the reason it works actually, guys, is because the fillet is actually quite a bit, as you've noticed on some of the bikes that are fillet brazed here, it's quite a bit larger than the TIG weld. The TIG weld fuses the two tubes together, as you would expect. But fillet brazing is a lower temperature filler, if you will, like almost molecular glue. And it's quite deep in there. So the root depth of the fillet is about 4 to 6 millimeters thick there. And essentially, we are almost physically building a lug that
with that braze material that reinforces and immobilizes that joint. Interesting.
And bronze is only about a tensile strength of about 30,000 pounds. And most basic chromoly steel is about 100,000 pounds. So we say to ourselves, if our fillet is 3 times as thick as the tube we're going to, that essentially we've now matched the strength of the tube, and the failure would happen
in the tube, not in the
joint. And once we've accomplished that, then
you're good.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
So, and even to this day, I bring this up. So most people know of a bike company called Brompton Bicycles in England. They make these foldable kind of things. And, those are highly loaded bike frames because there's no triangulation. They're just like one big tube that connects the head tube and the seat tube. And they make 70,000+ of those a year, and every one of them is fillet brazed.
Interesting.
Every one of them. And has been for all this time.
Forever, yeah.
So, and Bromptons have a great reputation for reliability. So, that's just example A. Like, geez, if done correctly, it's a fine process. And getting back to the cost, it's still cheaper today to get gas welding brazing equipment than it is TIG welding equipment. So it's a lower entry cost. And ultimately, most frame builders will need both, because if you're working with steel, we have braze-ons, right? That's what they're called. Like, how do we stick on our water bottle bosses? You know, how do we add the cable guides? Well, we do it with brazing.
Even if you're TIG welding the frames together,
all the guys braze.
You're brazing
braze
all
those bits. So even later, the equipment comes in handy for that. And there are a couple of instances where certain dropouts and other things are just better applied through brazing than TIG welding. And if you know both of, I ultimately say to everyone, you should learn all of them, because then if you know, of course, if you know all of them, like if you know every joining process, then you're like, well, which one would work best here
in this application?
And you're not just locked down to, well, I'm going to do what I know. Yeah. So it takes a while to get that proficient at all the processes. So I there's TIG welded bits on that trials bike. Yeah. So,
so you yourself will TIG weld.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm not anti TIG weld.
Yeah. But for the students in the process.
Yeah. For beginners and for learning, I'm still of the opinion that that brazing is a better way to start.
Yeah.
Not ultimately where you might be, but it's a better place to start.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So once your students learn that part of the process, then they're going to start taking the tubes, putting them together in the jig, and then I don't know what you said, kind of tacking them.
Yeah, we'll put some small applications of brazing material. We call that a tack.
So the frame's starting to take shape, and then you pull it out of the jig, and then make your
full welds
around. Okay.
And guys, there's a lot happening in between there. I mean, we don't usually fixture up the entire frame in one hit. You know, we'll do like chain stays to dropouts and then chain stays to bottom bracket and some of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then also there's behind you, there's 2 alignment surfaces here. Yeah. And we have to check ourselves constantly, because metal does what metal wants to do under heat and all that. And sometimes we call it cold setting or alignment, but I would not be amiss if I said that we're in these things between 8 and 12 times during the process to make sure that these bicycles stay in alignment through the process. If you get a bike that's like heavily out of alignment at the end, you can never make it straight again, because you know the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone, and you push one thing and it's just moving something else on you, and it's very frustrating. So we work. So basically we put together, we tack, we check, we braze, we check. And then at the end, there's almost nothing to do. You know, if I've done my job well with the student
at every step,
we pop in that wheel, and you know, she's just the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Huh.
That is really cool. What is it? A big slab of granite there?
Well, so one's a slab of granite, and then the other one, which I use a lot, is actually a piece of steel. That thing, that was a frame jig called a Marchetti and Lang from Italy. It's from the 70s, but it wasn't very useful anymore. So I converted it into an alignment system, which I use all the time now. So repurpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to see something like that hit the trash, right?
Yep. Yep, for sure. Yeah. So I think we covered the main like fabrication then on both the steel as well as the carbon.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you used to race yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your background in the racing? How far did you get, and what
I didn't get
racing?
So I ultimately made it to Cat 2.
Yeah.
Where I realized how outclassed I was in Cat 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have never been a professional racer or anything, but you know, I had fun with it.
Yeah.
And now this is my way of kind of
being in the industry.
Although the fact is, most of us frame builders are not in the racing scene anymore either.
Yeah.
Most of the time. Although Richard Socks, who's a frame builder back east, who's well known for lugs and stuff, he has got a UCI cyclocross team who races on lug steel.
Really?
Does really well. Yeah.
Huh.
So I mentioned this before, but yes, I mean, at the highest levels, we've got composites and all sorts of cool aerodynamics and all sorts of things like that. But I'm pretty convinced that even in today's world, especially with all the lightweight awesome we've got, you know, wheels and cranks and all of it, that somebody really would not be at a disadvantage to race steel in most circumstances. So or for that matter, homemade carbon fiber. Yeah.
Yeah. We had one of our guests on named Andrew Wolf. We call him the Wolfman. Wolf.
Yeah.
And he's a physiologist is that bike?
Yeah.
Body, whatever, anyway, physiology. And he had custom build. I don't know if it's a Tucson or back east somewhere, but a custom steel build. And he was so proud of that bike, and it looks all pretty. You know, he painted it. But yeah, he still rides that bike to this day. And I think he would agree with you that he is not at a disadvantage against the carbon bikes in any way, you know.
Not really. No. Yeah. I mean, I like them both, of course, but, and yeah, I just can't even, I mean, we could talk physics and all and engineering, and it would be I could usually probably convince most people that some of these numbers they see in the industry that's telling them that they need to have new stuff all the time if you really break it down, you're like, guy, that's worth like 4 seconds in like a 20-mile climb at like 6 degrees, right? Like, and by the way, last weekend you were like an hour and a half behind. That's not going to make up the difference.
But this is how they make money. I mean, they got to be able to sell new products every year.
We all make money. I mean, when I first started out, some frame builders were still saying that frames became soft, like just from year to year, they would just soften or something.
Okay, yeah.
And we were trying to get people to buy more bicycles, right? Okay. So it turns out that steel does not become soft.
Is that true? Is that serious? I still thought that.
Yeah, no.
Oh, really? You had heard that?
No, I got a
concept.
I got like a 20-year-old Surly frame that's steel, and I'm like, oh, it's getting soft. I can totally feel it. It's all in my head. You're telling me
it is in your head. Yeah. So, I mean, that would be almost like airplane sits on the tarmac and the wings just start to droop.
Yeah, that's not true.
Hit the pavement at some point, So, no, actually, I brought this up before, but steel and titanium, although not aluminum, have something we call an infinite fatigue limit. So, if not stressed beyond the yield strength of that material will not lose or change properties over time.
Wow.
And this is a reality. So this is how we build things that last so long, bridges, other things like that, right?
Yeah,
they usually fall apart due to corrosion, but not because of
the inherent fatigue, internal fatigue.
Yeah. And we were pushing that myth a lot because we needed people, these bikes were lasting too long. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then we need them just to arbitrarily stop using
So you're
that
part
thing.
of the
Well, yeah, I didn't really. Yeah. But I mean, so, when you make a product, it is a problem actually. Custom frame builders, we would often make a product that lasted so long that the only reason that people couldn't use it anymore is because they can't get a 6-speed cluster anymore. Right. Or some other issue is happening. Yeah. And that would mean an entire update. Yeah. And then even then, what's happened lately sometimes is that the existing bike won't accept, the new derailleur or something like that. And they really are at a loss to keep using the thing.
Right.
Unless they start hunting on eBay or something, for old things. So I mean, we don't have return clientele in that way. They just come and say, great, this thing's going to last forever. And they don't come back. Yeah. Not a great business model.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the clientele, so do you have any like common kind of themes that are coming up that kind of it's like, oh wow, I never thought this would be coming. I mean, one that comes to mind maybe is the motorized bikes and that. Are they
doing any e-bikes yet?
So I'll say this: I really am digging the e-bike thing. Mm-hmm. I don't own an e-bike, and I have never made one yet. I could theoretically make one because they do sell in some of the suppliers. They sell the motor cabinet. Okay. That you would need for like Shimano or Bosch. Yeah. And we could very easily weld tubes to that. And we've made ourselves a bicycle with one of those things. Although the battery would just be hanging out somewhere like on the down tube or something.
Yeah. You'd have to figure out how to
interface that.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't had the opportunity to try it. I don't do that in the classes yet. And I haven't actually had anybody ask me, to be honest. Okay. Yeah. Although, wait, I just said some weird guy last week asked me for an electrified cargo bike or something in the class with suspension, by the way, both front and rear. Just tiny thing like that. But by the way, more people riding bikes is good for everyone. Yeah. And although those type of bike riders may not be into what I'm doing right now, they may be into that someday. Mm-hmm. So I don't discount it. Yeah. And the e-bike is just another thing to add to the quiver, for a lot of people. Sure. And so I think you can be a cyclist and ride an e-bike at the same time. Sometimes there's a little bit of headbutting where people are like us versus them kind of thing, which by the way, doesn't even exist in Europe at all.
Right. It's just two different things. They're two different machines.
But here it's like a big deal in some cases.
It is for sure.
And I don't even see it. I'm just like, why is this a big deal?
Yeah.
And I'll say ultimately, I say this a lot of people talk about access through e-bike in certain areas and stuff. Ultimately, I think it's just going to come down to people with disabilities and limitations being told they cannot ride on public lands. And this is going to go to court. It's going to go the way of the e-bike.
Yes.
And all the bike riders who are trying to be they're going to lose. They've already lost. I just don't even know why they don't realize it yet.
Yeah.
So, and as the industry is concerned, I mean, 60% of the bikes in some places are all E now.
Oh, no kidding.
Like it's huge in Europe and everything. So, I mean, they're loving it right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have one because I can't afford it. And I don't get any like special deals on those.
Looks like you keep buying cool tools though.
Yeah. Tools are always.
Yeah, right on, man. Well, hey, we've really enjoyed the conversation here. Do you have any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
No, not exactly. It just, I just wanted to raise awareness that the fact is that you can make things.
Yeah.
And there's a certain zen, if you will, about making something. And every day, when you're done, a lot of us have jobs where you do stuff and maybe you see the results of that in 3 years or something, or maybe you never see the results of that. But what's so beautiful about making something for yourself is every day when you're done, you know it. Like your hands hurt and there's something new on the bench. Yeah. And for a lot of people, this is actually really enlightening, like this, it's almost like instant gratification. Like I did this, it exists now.
Yeah.
It can't be taken away from me. Yeah.
So such a cool concept, right? So framebuildingschool.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
BohemianBikes.com, but framebuildingschool.com. And for way less than you'd think, I don't know if you want to talk about pricing in the podcast or not. Yeah. Go ahead, man.
I mean, so I forget my own pricing sometimes. I had the same price for like 10 years, but I had to raise it recently. I mean, like everything's been getting expensive. Yeah. But I believe it is $35.50 currently.
Right on.
And realize that's the full 10 days with full, there are no additional charges or anything. That includes all the practice materials. The materials for the bike includes a fork as well. Oh. And like I said, this is open, but may even soon include a simple powder coat. Yeah. Yeah. And
lodging as well.
Well,
is that extra?
Lodging is extra.
Lodging extra. Okay.
But it is only $30 a day.
Oh, okay. That's totally reasonable.
And I don't have it's winter, I'm going to charge you $60 a day. This is always 30. Yeah. So I mean, there's that. And so, is it pricey in some ways, but the reality is you're eating up $1,000 in practice materials and you still get a bike. Some people on the internet are kind of like, you don't need to take a class. You don't, because you could spend all that money on making your own bike. And you're like, well, wait a minute. Like they're actually getting a lot for this and they get the bike. People seem to forget about the actual bike frame part. Yeah. So anyways, like I said, not for everyone, but I think it's actually still a good value.
Such a cool concept, man. So check it out.
Is. Yep. Yeah. Right, thanks a lot, Dave.
It was awesome.
Take care, brother.